Hi, it's Jez here from Nigezza Creates, and I am going to show you how I made this journal. It's a mini journal and it is just over 4 inches by just under 4 inches, and the cover is made from one of these Boots pharmacy bags. And in order to get just brown on the outside, I'm scrunching it all up so that the fibres are weakened a little bit and more malleable, and then I'm turning it inside out. And I have speeded this up to be 4 times because it's very long. But as you can see, it does take a little bit longer than you can see on the screen because I've speeded it up. But yeah, you can gently coax it and then eventually it will go inside out quite nicely. You've got all these lovely creases, which I really like. And then it's just a matter of folding back in all the creases of the bag to reform the bag inside out. And I got this idea from somebody that I've just recently discovered on YouTube and started following. It is Joy Junktique. I will link it down below, and I will link her video as well. She did form pockets, but I couldn't work out how that happened, so I haven't bothered. So yeah, so once it's down, I just use my bone folder to make the creases really good. And I'm having a little bit of trouble. I do end up, it's not quite straight, but it doesn't really matter. And then I'm just going over with some distress ink there, some vintage photo. So it kind of gives it a little bit of a livery look. Yeah, I really liked it. The video I watched, she used some chalk paint. But, you know, so whatever you've got, you can use. I just liked the look of the ink, and I didn't have any chalk paint anyway. So yeah, I had to use what I had. So I'm going up the gusset a little bit because you will see it a little bit. And then I'm just sort of folding it over to how I wanted. On my original one, the ends were a bit scrappy, so I actually chopped a bit off. So this one's going to be ever so slightly bigger. So I'm making there about a 1/2 inch sort of spine, if you like, there, and ready for the the signature. I do then, so I made it 1/2 inch, and I do then crease a 3rd line in the middle, and that is what's going to be where the signature's sewn in. So I'm just gonna glue down some of the bits that need gluing, and just to sort of neaten it up, and then we'll be ready to move on. I'm using Collall glue. That is my glue of choice, widely available here in the UK. I think it's quite similar to Beacon 4-in-1, 3-in-1 even. So yeah, I've glued. I don't think the video I watched, the gussets were glued down. I've just chosen to do it, so it's got a little bit more reinforcing. So there's another little bit there that needs gluing down, and there we should be ready now for the journal cover. There, the basics is ready. Got a hole at that, an opening at that end. I will eventually line those to make pockets. So I'm using the French love letter kit by Rachel and Bella Crafts. I've printed them 2 to a page, and I've then printed some of the backing pages, some of my own and some of Rachel's on the back. And there's some of the French letters there. I've printed them on a layout pad, which is like 45 GSM, and it's quite it's nice paper, and you can see through a bit to the other side. So here I am, just trimming off those white edges that I get when I print 2 to a page when they're different pages, and I'm just seeing how long, what size I need the pages to be. So I'm sort of ripping it down how I want it. I thought it'd be nice to rip. You get quite a nice edge to it. I do change my mind in the end because I just realised that for accuracy reasons, it's not going to be that brilliant. And also here I am inking all the edges, and that's just going to take forever, and I just want a quick project. So yeah. So after that's when I realised I need my middle bit of the spine section for sewing in, and this is when I realised that actually it's a bit too long, so I need to trim down to get it where I want it. I need to trim a bit more off as well, and so I eventually get it to the size that I am happy with, and then I measure it, and it is a very nice sort of even number. Of course, there's no point telling you my measurements because it will depend on the size of your paper bag. So there they are, all cut out for you. Those are the pages that I have chosen, and I folded them all in half, ready. And then this is a lovely wildflower book page from this little observer's book there, and that is cut down to form a pocket page. And then I've got an antique letter here, and it was naturally folded in that way, so I've decided to keep it. So it's going to be a short page or with a pocket. That's a vintage receipt there. That is antique document. That's a note paper. That's a 1940s letter. This is an antique receipt there, and a bit of a doily there, which I'm just folding in half. I like doily pages. And this is an envelope, which I'm going to use it to form two pockets on one side and an uptuck on the other. So I'm just tidying away some of the bits and bobs as we go along, and just keeping some of the strips. Some of them, they're just not worth it, so I'm just getting rid as we go there. So let's go back to the envelope, and I'm going to just fold it in half there, and that is going to be the centre section of the journal. This is me. I'm cutting off the bit where the gummed bit is on the envelope flap. In the end, I resort to my scissors because after doing this a few times and it not being quite how I want it, I do end up cutting it with a pair of scissors, but not quite yet. So then I remember I've got to slit the envelope down, so it's just a little tool there I've got to help me to do that. So that enables us to have two pockets there and an uptuck on the other side. And this is where I am coming in, and I'm gonna cut. I am persevering to try and use my trimmer again, but yeah, as I say, I do eventually realise that I need to cut it with a pair of scissors. So that is that bit all sorted. Just taking a drink here, sorry. So that's that bit ready, and so I'm just going to I do ink the edges. Do I do that right now? Don't know. Nope. Clearly don't ink the edges, or I decide to do it now. I've just remembered now. Yeah, there we go. Give them an ink so that we can see. It's quite a nice look to it actually, because it's a double crossover sort of pocket. I like the look of it once it's inked. So that's ready to stick down, and then the up bit is ready to stick down on the other side. A bit more inking. You can see where that diagonal crossover there is. It's a nice little look, and you can just see the inside of the envelope. And here I'm just going to take sliver off those centre bits because I didn't want them to catch at all once it was folded over. So I'm just sticking the centre section down, and we'll just do the same on the up tuck there, and that is that bit already to be the centre of the journal. So now I am going through, I'm just checking with the original, so I'm going through picking my papers and the original documents and book pages to make up the rest of the signature. And so those pages weren't done in any particular order, they're just being placed in, and I do change my mind a few times with what I'm doing, swap things around until I am happy with how things are looking. So yeah, so I'm keeping, if you can't see because I'm doing it off camera, but I keep looking at the other journal there to see what I've got. So I realised that no, I want the other one to be the outside, so I do end up changing it all a little bit. Haven't put the doily in anywhere, so I need to work that one out. So I am doing quite a bit of changing and swapping around here and sort of seeing which colours go well with which other colours. I've still got a page there to slip in, and got a doily to slip in as well, so I'll have to make my decision about where all these things are going. So we're looking through again to see what grabs me, and you've always got to be mindful as well as what's on the other side, because I was contemplating a page, but on the other side it was a pocket, so I had to abandon that. But that is looking pretty good, and hashtag I'll let you into a secret, it doesn't end up like this. I do change a bit more as time goes on. Here we go, changing again, and yeah, lots of faffing until I eventually get it to how I want it. So still not 100% sure that's what I want. So I keep changing. That's the problem with me, is that I'm all a little bit of a perfectionist in terms of where things need to be. And I think maybe I've decided that that's it. Let's see. Have I decided that's it? A lot of white in there, but that will get changed. But I've decided, because there's a lot of white in there, I need to insert some colour. But that is the whole point of this process, is to let you see what you go through when you're doing it. And I'm not really a chuck it in and see. I am a ditherer, a ponderer, an auditioner, until I get what I want, where I want, and I don't want that there. So yeah. And I was looking at that doily, and I want it on a page where one side's completely plain. So that will come out in the wash sometime later. So that is me one more time. I'm just counting there the pages, because it was 14 altogether, which is 14, 20, it's 56 pages front and back. And I'm just noticing that some of the pages are sticking out, so I need to just adjust the width of some of them, because if you have equal sized pages, then as they get through to the center of the signature, they're actually going to protrude out, so you can't have them all exactly the same unless you like that look. But I didn't want anything to stick out any further than the front cover, because the front cover was literally at the length it needed to be. Anything longer and it would poke out the end a bit. So that's me just adjusting the last couple of pages ready. Now I've got to fold in these flaps a bit because they're too long, so I need to fold them in. So I quite like it that it's got a second fold mark. It makes it seem a little bit more sort of vintage, if it's got these extra folds, and that looks like I've finally done it. So there we are, just checking that it all fits in there quite nicely. So another little flick and a check, and then we're going to move on to the cutting down, or the gluing down and that of the different pockets. But first I'm choosing my pages to go on the inside, so I'm going to measure how big they are, so that they can easily be glued in place. This does prove to be a tad trickier than I thought. Well, not tricky, but it took me a few goes to get it to the size that it needed to be. That's more human error than anything else, but I do get there in the end. So that's me just cutting the paper to size, and then just check in, and as you can see, it's too big, a little too big, just a little. So got to cut it down a little bit more. So here I am, I'm just cutting it up to make sure that both of them fit in. I've speeded this up a little bit more because it is just me faffing. We're getting the right size, and then I'm just gluing it in place. So not too rocket science going on there. So when I've satisfied that it is how it will be, I'm just going to add some collard glue after I've cleaned up as I go along, and then just inking the top edge of it that you're likely to see, a little bit down the side, but not really that much. So then so I'm using a bit of glue stick, and then I thought I used some colour. What am I doing? Don't know what you're doing there, Jess. Yeah, I do use a bit of colour, and then that gives it some added stiffness, so that the cover will be a bit stiffer than if I hadn't used colour. And then I'm just gonna repeat for the other side before that goes in. And because I feel the paper bag is not really stiff enough on its own, so having this in it gives you a pocket, gives you some extra stiffness, and then whatever I glue to the inside cover as well will add a little bit more sturdiness to it, to sort of strengthen that cover like that. And then I'll just be bringing in the rest of the signature, not the rest of the signature, the signature, to just cleaning up some glue drips there, to see how it's sort of all fitting in. So now we just need to go through it, and so I'm just going to ink edges that need inking and glue down bits of pockets that need gluing down as I go through. So it stops now in a sec and I come back to it. There we are. So this is me the next day coming back to it, and I had, rather than show you on camera, I just went through it and I did all the inking, because you don't need to see me ink. And so now I'm just creating different pockets as we go through, and some of them need decorating in a way, but I'm just going to go through and show you, you know, what I did to finish it off. So that's just strengthening the edge there, and then I can glue the pocket down quite simply, and then I will be decorating those edges. Here I'm just inking through the doily so that it transfers the pattern onto that page, which I think is a really nice look. And then I just need to ink the inside of the doily, because I don't like white. White's offensive. White doesn't belong in a vintage journal, because it would have always been turned a different colour. You wouldn't have white in something old. So yeah, I always like to do that. So I'm thinking here, what am I going to do on these edges, and I can't remember what order I do the next bit in, but I'm thinking I'm getting in my tea cards, I think. Yeah, so sort of decorating the edge with some tea cards. So I'm looking for pink flowers, so I did that quite a bit in finding a pink flower, and there were quite a few to choose from, so I flicked through until I decided on which one I wanted. These tea cards were glued in quite strongly. When I did it on my original one, they came out really easily, but that's lost quite a bit of its backing. So I'm gluing it directly to the flap bit there, so it doesn't matter that it's a bit weakened with having the back off. And then I'm just going to make a pocket out of that, and I think that goes quite nicely with the pink on the other page. And so I'm going to look again for a tea card that will look nice there, and again a lot of the backing comes off and there's not enough of the flap there to have it stuck down completely, so I'm going to back it with a bit of tea dyed paper to add a bit of strength, and then also, if you see a bit on the back, it's tea dyed paper. It's not, you know, the gubbins that has the rippedness that's left on the back of that tea card. So yeah, so if you've got tea cards that sometimes you buy them in bundles, and you know they might have been ripped out the book, so it's a way of neatening the back. And I realised when I'd done that actually that'd be quite a nice little journaling card there, so that might be an idea that you can use, and I might do that at some later date in a project. So I'm just gonna, so that's kind of elongated the pocket a bit, so but I'm still gonna do the edges, but then we've got a bigger pocket there. So I've got to decide what I'm going to do on that section, and I thought, do I want to do another tea card? Got a pink one there, can't decide, can't remember what I chose to do. Oh, I decided to go to the kit and see if there was something in the kit that I could use on that page. So I'm dithering there and finding something. Keep pulling in different ideas before I get to the one that I decide I'm going to use. And it should be any second now. There it is. So yeah, so just cutting that one, well, not cutting, I'm ripping. So I'm just going to take the centre bit of that. I don't know if it's an advertisement or what, and give it a good ink round, and then I think that will work well on there. It also needs backing because it's a white back. So and what I decide to do is, instead of sticking it down, because there's quite a lot of space on that green letter that you could journal on, so I'm going to stick it down so it's a flap and it'll open, so that we've got you know, quite a lot of journaling space there to be used. Not that I think the person I'm going to give this to is going to journal in it. They'll probably just keep it because it's pretty. But yeah, journals are works of art as well. You don't have to write in them. You can just keep them for what they are, which is, you know, a piece of art, and that is what the recipient will probably do, I imagine. So yeah, so just inking around at the edges, and then yeah, so there. I'm just going to have it so it folds back on itself and makes a nice big journaling spot there. So we've added interest and journaling in space, and then I picked out a bit of pink to go with the pink sheet, and I changed my mind numerous times what I'm going to do with this pink sheet, whether or not I'm going to make it a flip flap, whether or not I'll just stick it down, because the sheet is quite boring really, and it looks like dials, so I don't know if it's sort of like reading your gas meter. So I keep kind of thinking, what shall I do with it, and I decide then, I decide to put it on there. I was thinking I'll do it, I was going to do it just as a decorative piece, and then in the end I went, oh, let's just make it a big pocket. So I've given myself another job. It's another tag that I've got to insert in there, but you know, that's okay. But I think that works really nicely actually as a pocket. So then that gives me the chance to do something there, and I'll go for another T card. Why not? Haven't gone for a pink one this time. I've gone for one that's a bit thicker. There, that was out of a different book, so that you can see the difference if you manage to rip it out, and then I'm going to make that a tuck spot, so it didn't matter that I didn't need to cover the back of that. So that's that all done. So now I'm going to do some stenciling on the pages so that they're less boring. So I've got this lovely stencil. There's quite a few different elements on it. There's big ones, little ones, so they can suit whether or not I'm doing a big page or a little page. And pick out different parts of the stencil. So making this stencil do quite a number of things with all the different patterns on it. And some of them, like I've done there, I kind of done a mirror image there, which I like. I will put some other decorative elements on these pocket fronts, but having the stenciling as a basis, I think gives it a layer without adding bulk. Is what I like. You could stamp. That was the other option. I was going to do some stamping, but stenciling is actually much quicker, and it means I'm not getting something else out onto my desk, which is already so messy. The thought of adding more to it, I just didn't want to do that. I was going to bring you a part 2 of this, but as I've done this speeded up with a voiceover, I can actually, I think, finish this journal off. So it probably won't end up being a part 2. I will finish it off and continue the voiceover. So most of it's double speeded. Some of it this is 4 times the speed that I'm doing here. Because they're not bits that you need to follow. You can see what I'm doing. I think when it was things that I was making that requires a little bit more that you can see, then it's double speeded. So yeah, it has dramatically reduced the time. This took me a couple of hours, but it's reduced it to just like half an hour of film time. So, but it's a project you can do in a day, really. I mean, originally I did it over 2 days, 3 days. I think it was a day to do the cover and sew in the signatures, a day to do the pockets and stuff, and then it was just a couple of extra hours then, just sort of adding tags and deciding on what other little bits were going to go in. So yeah, so I'm just doing that in the same way as I did before, and then that is most of it finished off there quite nicely. So I am just there thinking about putting pockets in, and then I realised that actually I've been a long time, so that I might actually need to do another video. So I'm just sort of checking, and this was me basically saying I'll do another video, and then I changed my mind, and so here I am sewing in the signatures. So I'm just getting it all centered. I'm just going to eyeball this. Often I make little templates, but on this one I decided that I would just eyeball. So if you fold over whilst you're sticking your oil all in, you get the hole directly on the fold where you want it. And then I'm just doing 3 times the height with my waxed thread there, and I want this one to be the ties on the outside, so I'm going from the outside in. Often I do the ties on the inside, so then I do inside out. So wherever you start, that's where your threads are going to be. And then so I go in the middle, out through the bottom, in through the top, and back out through the middle, and then just do me knotting there, and then I'm going to cut them down, because that's eventually going to get covered over. So I'm just putting away all my bookbinding stuff in that nice little drawer that somebody I know made, and then we'll just go over my bone folder each of the pages so that they are flattened down nicely and will open nicely. And so now we just need to add all the tags and ephemera and bits, and so I think I've probably got time to do that if I do another carry on with the voiceover. Okay, so because I've done a voiceover and speeded things up, I've got enough time to actually finish off doing the inside pockets and putting the closure on and covering the spine like I've done on this one. So I'm going to do it, so then it will be a 2-parter, and then in part 2 we'll do all the decorating bits that need doing, decorating the pockets, adding the ephemera and making the ephemera. Okay, so a 2-parter. Right, so I did a library pocket on the back cover, because the back cover is just the 2 layers of the bag, so it's quite flexible, whereas the front cover bit has got your paper attached there, so it's much stiffer. So I thought by putting a library pocket on the back, then that will work nicely. I did the original one with an antique ledger, but I thought I'd do this one with Rachel's Digitals. Now it's got a lot of blue and that, so I sort of picked out, I'm sort of deciding could go with that as my library pocket, and then I could decorate the front of this. Wasn't sure about that. Then there's this one, but I think it's the wrong sort of blue, so I wasn't sure about that. And then there's this, we've got a bit of a blue flower going on there and some other flowers. So there's a bit of things, I'm probably going to go with that. Yeah, that didn't take long. So I'm going to now speed it up again to make sure that I fit everything in. Okay. So I'm just going to trim down this bit of paper, going to give it a measure so that I kind of know where I need it to be. I'm adding 1/2 inch so that I'll be doing like 1/4 inch score down to fold the bit around in the pocket, and then I'm just kind of just eyeballing almost how tall I want it, and then I'm just folding over the pocket bit, and then I'm just going to score 1/4 inch in, and those are the bits that are going to fold over, and then just a little bit. It was 1/2 inch, the other was 1/2 inch, that was 1/4 inch I've just done there. Yeah. So I'm just going to score the sides over, and then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut off the notches for the bit of the pocket that's going to fold over, and then we're going to just cut down those side flaps so that they will no longer be attached. I did think for a moment of sticking it down and forming a pocket, but part of why I want to add this is so that it gets glued down and it adds a layer, an extra thickness to that back cover. So if I'd made a pocket out of it, then it wouldn't have it. So the fact that I'm going to put glue all over the back means that there's an extra bit of glue which adds stiffness, and colour particularly adds stiffness. So here I am just inking everything. An extra little trim there, that happens sometimes. Yeah, bit of inking so that it looks more vintage, and then we'll just glue down those side sections, and then we're going to put glue all over the back so that is ready to stick in place on the back cover there. Once it's sort of decorated up, it'll blend in a little bit more with the other page. I'm going to cover up that plain vintage paper print that's on the pocket front there. So just doing a major bit of cleaning up there because I possibly put too much glue on, but that's okay. You can take it off. You just can't put any more. No. Can you put more on? No, you can't once it's stuck down. So now we're going to look at the bit of lace that's going to go round the spine. So I'm just straightening that bit up, and then I'm measuring, eyeballing ish. It's very ish. I want it to be a little bit longer to trim it down. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to use my fabric glue. I did actually cut that not tall enough. So the shorter bit, the mistake, if you like, it's going to be the pocket on the inside. So I've decided I am going to just straighten it up there. I'm going to fold a bit over because otherwise it's a bit tall. So I'm going to get my fabric glue to put some glue down all the way along so that this can be folded down, and I shall use my clips to hold that in place. So I'll probably leave it overnight to make sure that it's covered. A couple of hours would be enough, if that. But yeah. So now we need to put glue all over this bit to stick it to the spine, and then that will be that section finished. So just dabbing the glue where there's a bit of lace that's, got a thicker bit, so that, because you can't put it on where there's a hole, so it's where there's not a hole, if you get what I mean. And then so that can then be stuck down, and I really like the colour. with the paper bag. And then I'm going to just leave it to dry, not do very much with that now. Managed to get glue all over it, but I'm just rubbing it off. So here I am putting in an eyelet for attaching the button and the leather strap for a closure. I am now searching through my metal buttons with the circular bit on, and yeah, don't quite go to plan. Okay, so I can't do to this what I did to the other one. So on this closure, I got one of these buttons and I just squeezed the little circle bit, and I was able to squeeze it through the eyelet, and then I attached this faux leather thing to it so that I had a nice sticky up button that I could then wind this round. But this was the only one that had a button I could do that with. All these buttons are like this one, they're attached, and yeah, so I couldn't do it. None of the I tried squeezing one and it just didn't work. With that one, on the original one, it was separate. Now that one is a bit separate, however that's plastic, so it's not going to work. So I had to come up with a new idea, but hey ho. So I got these, they're like these sort of brad door knocker things. So I thought, oh, I'll do that. So I'd already put the eyelet in ready. I wouldn't have done that, I'd have just made a little hole, had I thought about it in time. In fact, this eyelet appears to be coming out. So that's that in there. I think that eyelet has come out. Let me just check. Yeah, completely come out. Oh well. Not to worry. I'm gonna be sticking paper on this side to cover up this doodah thing anyway, so I'm not gonna lose too much sleep over it. There we go. Splay them out. Right. So then I decided to take a bit of sari silk. So I'm just going to double it over. And I'm going to put it through the hole there. Drag that through. I actually think we want it so that it goes that way. Yep. And then we'll go round, and then you can poke it through, and I will add some beads. So that is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to cover the inside, I think. There's a bit of me that thinks that might be a bit too long, this bit of sari silk. I might just fold it down like that. I think that does look a bit better. So it doesn't need to be that long. So I might trim it down. So I think I'll probably cut enough off that. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut a slice off that. that's quite a nice bit, and then we'll even this up a tad more. Right, I'm going to speed it up now. Oh yeah, undoing that knot. It did prove a little bit difficult, but there we go. I've tied it round, so now I'm just deciding on which of my bracelets I want to break up to make my dangle. So getting out my little tools there to get it off the bracelet, and so I went to tie a knot in it, and I didn't like how it looked. So, oh, this is the knot that was problematic, not the other one. You probably thought, what's she talking about? She didn't struggle. Yeah, I struggled on this one. So what I decided was actually I would just put a bit of a dangle on both bits of sari silk there. So I could have, you know, shortened the whole thing again, but I didn't. Those little bits I cut off can go in the top of tags. So here we are, I'm just threading the needle so I can sew these little bits of sari silk to itself, encasing the dangle. I don't sew very often. It's not something I like, but for things like this, it's worth it. Just to hold it in place. So we've got like brown beads, and then the other one is the lovely sort of jade sea green sort of colour. And there I'm just getting some picture rail tape to tape down the prongs from the back of that sort of door handle closure. So now I'm just picking out some of the digitals, drawing around it, and then I'm just going to ruler it just inside the pencil lines that I drew, taking a little bit off the bottom, and I have to do that a couple of times until I get it to be where I want it to be, and then we just need to ink all around it and then get it stuck down, and this will add another little bit of stiffness then to that front flap, and make it all a little bit more, you know, stronger and securing in that that doorknob thing. And then I'm just taking a bit of that paper and covering the front of that pocket with it, and it kind of ties it all up. We've got bits of blue and we've got the bits of pink, and it just ties across all three sections there, which I thought was important. And then I'm just taking that bit of a pocket that I left, it was left overnight, and then just putting some of that fabric glue around the three sides, and then sticking it down. I'm going to use some clips on the side there where I can use the clips. I'm doing it so the pocket's open because I don't want it to stick down and it stick the pocket together. And I'm just trimming off the excess that's down that. So that is the basic journal made, and then in part 2 we will add tags, journaling cards, and decorate some of these pockets. Although I've done most of them, but I still have to do a little bit along here, and yeah, and we'll add all our tags and journaling cards and things. So join me, and I'll put some original ephemera in it as well. So join me for part 2. See you all again soon. Bye for now.